Yo, what it do, YouTube? It's your boy D.R. Brown. I am back with another video today, man. We are reacting to this. Could Leon Kennedy survive Resident Evil 8? If you're not hip to which one is which, this is the one with Ethan Winters. Okay? So, Leon is like the cover boy of Resident Evil. In my opinion, he's the best MC of Resident Evil. He's the best playable character in my personal opinion. I rock with Leon heavy, and I want to let y'all know, man. If y'all want that gameplay, Resident Evil, man, fine. Let your boy know. Let me know, man. We can get on that for real, for real. I'm waiting on y'all. Y'all gotta let me know. But let's get straight into the video. I got Leon surviving. No Resident Evil can take my boy out, man. Let's get straight to the video.
Leon F. Kennedy? Depends who's asking.
The transport van crashes. You crawl out into the snow, but this time, you are Leon S. Kennedy, a government agent with the highest survival stats in the franchise. But here's the problem. Ethan survived this village because he was made of mold, a regenerative biological fungus that allowed him to reattach severed limbs and shrug off fatal wounds. Leon is just human. He has his custom Silver Ghost handgun, a combat knife, and zero backup. Today, we're asking a simple question. Does tactical brilliance outscale biological immortality? Can a normal human physiology withstand the Megamycete? The first major hurdle is the Lycan Siege. In Resident Evil 4, the Ganados were slow, shuffling at maybe 3 to 4 miles per hour. The Lycans in Village are apex predators. We can estimate their sprint speed at roughly 20 miles per hour based on how quickly they close a 30-meter gap. For a normal human, this is a death sentence. But Leon brings the parry mechanic into the equation. In physics terms, a parry isn't about stopping force. It's about redirecting kinetic energy. A Lycan bite delivers hundreds of pounds of pressure per square inch. If Leon tries to block statically, his radius and ulna snap. Instead, he uses the knife to deflect the vector of attack, sliding the bite past his vital arteries. This is where Leon's close quarters combat training puts him miles ahead of Ethan. However, the physics change drastically when Urias arrives. This is the giant Lycan wielding a hammer that looks to weigh at least 400 pounds. In the game, Ethan blocks his hammer with his bare hands. If a human Leon Kennedy tried that, the force, mass times acceleration, would liquefy his internal organs regardless of his arm strength. Leon cannot tank these hits. He has to rely entirely on evasion. His survival strategy shifts from engagement to pure mobility, utilizing the environment to break down the line of sight until the bell tolls. Once inside Castle Dimitrescu, the threat changes from kinetic energy to biological swarm tactics. The three daughters, Bella, Cassandra, and Daniela, are composed of blowflies vulnerable to cold. Leon, with his background in biological warfare assessment with Operation Javier, would likely identify the environmental anomaly much faster. He understands thermodynamics. When a window breaks and the enemy solidify, a tactical mind connects the drop in ambient temperature to the enemy's physiology immediately. Insect metabolism is poikilothermic. Their internal temperature relies on the environment. Then there
Hold on, y'all. I love you, nerd, but get off my screen. I love you, nerd. Get off my screen. Get back to the video.
is Lady Dimitrescu. She stands at 9 feet 6 inches. Her reach is terrifying, but her mass is her downfall. The square cube law suggests that a creature of her size would have significant inertia issues. She cannot change direction quickly. Leon's combat style relies on high-speed agility, sprinting, sliding, and dodge rolling.
Don't be lying in the comments. Keep it real if you got him surviving. I got my boy
doesn't
surviving.
need to absorb damage if he never gets hit.
Right now, it's looking like
her slow
ballpark.
rotational speed,
Like
he can stay in her blind spot, chipping away at her with the Silver Ghost. When we crunch the numbers for this section, Leon is actually safer than Ethan. Ethan took damage because he was slow and untrained. Leon avoids the damage entirely. For the castle and the village siege, Leon earns a Tier S survival rating. His evasion negates the need for a healing factor. But physical threats are one thing. As we leave the castle, the science gets much darker, and we move from physical combat to psychological warfare.
Oh man, uh-oh.
As Leon descends the elevator into House Benevenito, the rules of engagement disintegrate. His Silver Ghost and combat knife are stripped away, not by force, but by the specific environmental parameters of the location. The ghosts in this house aren't supernatural. They are the result of the Mutamycete secreting a potent hallucinogenic pollen. From a scientific perspective, This pollen acts like a weaponized psychotropic, bypassing the blood-brain barrier to directly stimulate the amygdala, the brain's fear center. Ethan Winters saw his family because his fear was rooted in paternal loss. Leon's psychology is vastly different. He has undergone government conditioning to resist interrogation and psychological torture. However, his trauma is deep. He wouldn't see domestic horrors. He would likely hallucinate the failures of Raccoon City or the victims of the C virus. But here is the critical difference. Leon knows how to compartmentalize. While Ethan stumbled through the house in a state of panic, Leon would recognize the symptoms of chemical exposure. His objective would shift from escape to containment. Then comes the physical component of the nightmare, the baby monster. In the game, this chase is terrifying because Ethan moves slowly. His running speed is barely a jog, roughly 9 miles per hour. The creature moves slightly faster, creating a narrow margin for error. Leon, however, is an Olympic-level athlete in terms of functional fitness. In the tight corridors of the Benevenito basement, Leon's parkour abilities, vaulting over gurneys, sliding under debris, and executing sharp 90-degree turns without losing momentum, would trivialize the chase. The creature is large and clumsy. It relies on cornering its prey. Leon doesn't get cornered. He creates exit vectors. Exiting the house, we transition to the Moreau Reservoir, where the environment itself becomes the enemy. The area is plagued by acid rain. Science check. For rain to burn skin instantly upon contact, the pH level would need to be close to 1.0, similar to battery acid. Ethan wears a civilian cotton jacket. Cotton offers zero chemical protection. The acid would soak through and cause third-degree chemical burns within minutes. Leon, conversely, wears standard-issue tactical gear. Modern tactical vests and combat fatigues are often treated with hydrophobic coatings and made of synthetic blends like Kevlar or Nomex, which are far more resistant to chemical corrosion than high-street fashion. While he still would take damage over time, his gear buys him significantly more exposure time than Ethan had. The battle against Moreau, the giant fishman, presents the first true game over risk. Ethan survives this fight by tanking acid vomit and getting knocked off platforms, then pouring healing fluid on his wounds. Leon does not have that luxury. Without regeneration, a direct hit from Moreau's acid bile is fatal. It would melt through his armor and liquefy tissue. However, Leon has a massive advantage in weapon proficiency. He would have scavenged the GM79 grenade launcher by this point. He understands trajectory arcs. This section ends with a Tier A survival rating.
He's still
Leon's
putting in work,
tactical gear
y'all.
mitigates the environmental hazards, and his superior movement speed makes the giant fish fight manageable. But the risk is high. One slip on the wet slime, one miscalculated jump, or one splash of acid, and there's no coming back. He survives, but he is walking a razor's edge, and as he leaves the water, he faces a threat that bullets and running cannot solve: magnetism. Entering Heisenberg's factory, the genre shifts abruptly from gothic horror to industrial warfare. The narrow corridors and verticality create a claustrophobic kill box designed to corner intruders. The primary threats here are the Zoldots, cyborg monstrosities with industrial drills for arms and heavy armor plating covering their vital organs. For Ethan Winters, these enemies were terrifying bullet sponges that required panicked mag dumps to put down. For Leon Kennedy, this is just another Tuesday at the office. We have to compare marksmanship styles. Ethan fires with a standard, often shaky, isosceles stance, flinching under recoil. Leon utilizes the center axis relock system, or CAR. This is a specialized close-quarters shooting stance that keeps the weapon tight to the chest, reducing leverage for recoil control and making weapon retention significantly easier in tight spaces. When Zoldot charges, Leon doesn't backpedal blindly into a wall. He pivots around the enemy's center of gravity. From a physics standpoint, this precision is non-negotiable. The Zoldot armor appears to be roughly 10 millimeters of mild steel or composite alloy. A standard 9mm round delivers about 500 joules of kinetic energy. Against angled steel, that energy deflects. It bounces off. You cannot brute force these enemies without wasting critical resources. You have to hit the exposed red reactors. The tensile strength of the armor is irrelevant if you put a bullet directly into the cooling vent. Leon's ability to laser targets, demonstrated by shooting small coins out of the air in Resident Evil 4, means he clears the factory with a fraction of the ammunition Ethan used. Then comes the Sturm, the creature with an aircraft propeller for a face. While terrifying to look at, this is a distinct tactical callback for Leon. He survived the Chainsaw Man in Spain. He knows the audio cues of a revving engine. He understands the Matador strategy: wait for the charge, sidestep at the last second, and punish the recovery frames. The Sturm is essentially just Dr. Salvador with a higher RPM. However, the survival counter drops significantly when we reach the Heisenberg boss fight. The encounter is dictated entirely by
Oh, that wasn't the
magnetism.
boss? Oh,
Heisenberg
boy.
doesn't just throw metal, he manipulates the electromagnetic fields of the area. Leon is biological, so he isn't directly magnetic, but his gear is. His gun, his knife, his grenades. Everything that makes him lethal is ferrous metal. Heisenberg could theoretically rip Leon's weapons right out of his holster, leaving him defenseless. To survive, Leon has to pilot the makeshift polymer tank constructed from scrap. Here we see a massive skill gap. Ethan drives like a civilian, clunky and slow. Leon is a vehicle specialist. In Resident Evil 6,
What
he
isn't
piloted
Leon good at? What
helicopters,
isn't Leon
drove
good at?
motorcycles through explosions, and managed complex machinery under fire. Leon would drive this tank with surgical aggression, utilizing the cannon to disrupt Heisenberg's magnetic field generation rather than just trading blows. But despite the skill advantage, we have to assign a tier B survival rating.
Okay.
Why the drop? Collateral damage. The arena is filled with flying shrapnel. A sheet of corrugated iron flying at 80 miles per hour carries the kinetic energy of a mid-sized sedan. Leon cannot regenerate. If a piece of debris slices an artery, the fight's over. The sheer chaos of the magnetic storm creates variables that tactical training cannot fully mitigate. He survives, but the margin for error is razor thin. So, Leon escapes the factory, but he leaves his luck behind as he faces the final ascension.
Oh, boy.
Finally, we reach the apex of the nightmare, Mother Miranda. This is
Uh-oh.
where the math stops favoring the soldier and starts favoring the monster. Miranda moves with a velocity that borders on teleportation, faster than the human eye can track via saccadic masking. In the game, she
Why was
shifts
the
forms
shotgun
instantly.
shooting like a
Scientifically,
machine gun?
this requires a reaction time battle that is almost impossible to win.
Uh-oh.
An average human reaction time is roughly 250 milliseconds. Leon S. Kennedy, operating at peak physiological conditioning, likely clocks in around 150 milliseconds, similar to an F1 driver or a fighter pilot. But against
Okay.
Miranda's supernatural velocity, even that might not be enough. Consider the durability problem. There is a canonical cutscene where Miranda rips Ethan's heart directly out of his chest.
Oh.
Ethan survives this trauma because he is a colony of mold mimicking a man. His consciousness doesn't reside in the organ. If Miranda gets within grappling range of Leon, there is no recovery. A destroyed heart is a destroyed pump. Systemic failure is instant. This means Leon must execute what speedrunners call a no-hit run. He lacks the plot armor of regeneration. Every mistake is terminal. So how does he win? The answer lies in superior
No-hit
firepower
run.
application and sensory overload. Leon wouldn't rely on the slow, panicked reload of a Magnum alone. He would likely utilize the Scavenge Stake or WCX assault rifle, but his tactical ace is the flash grenade. Miranda's shapeshifting abilities suggest a highly mutable biological structure that relies heavily on sensory feedback to target prey. A modern M84 stun grenade delivers millions of candela of light intensity and 170 decibels of sound. This would overload her optic nerves and stun her central nervous system far more effectively than it did against the Ganados. Leon exploits these windows not to trade damage, but to interrupt her attack cycles before they begin. However, the Mega Mycete's final form covers the arena in massive area of effect attacks, large, sweeping strikes that cover 80% of the ground. Leon can sprint, but he cannot phase through matter. If he gets clipped, the hydrostatic shock alone could rupture organs. Because of this zero margin for error scenario, we assign this final battle a Tier C survival rating.
Ooh.
It's a passing grade, but only barely. The mortality risk is astronomical. Leon wins not through endurance, but through absolute flawless efficiency. He survives, but he is running on fumes. So what's the final verdict? Leon S. Kennedy dominates the early game. His tactical brilliance turns the Lycan Siege and Castle Dimitrescu into a shooting gallery, proving that training beats brute force. But as the threats shift from biological to supernatural, the lack of regenerative healing becomes a critical liability. He survives, but he leaves the village battered, broken, and bleeding. Our final cumulative tier is Tier A, the professional. He has the skills to pay the bills, but the cost is high. Now, we turn it over to you. Which Resident Evil protagonist should we run through the gauntlet next? Let us know in the comments. And remember, Leon might have survived the night,
Chris.
but without
It
the
gotta be
mold
Chris.
connection, could he have ever saved Rose? That is a variable even science can't calculate.
All right, man. So look, there you have it. Leon Kennedy survived with the A survival rating. Hey man, what did I say? I don't think there's a Resident Evil game that's gonna put that boy Leon down. I hope that boy Leon ain't about to die in 9, because I would be sad. But with all that being said, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how you feel about the Resident Evil series. And if you want to see that gameplay, let me know in the comments. But with all that being said, you know you're going to see me again. Join the family if you haven't. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. And go watch some of the other greatness on this channel. Share it to your mama, your daddy, your grandmama, your grandpappy. Peace. Yo, 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 yo.